This is Rich from Insta360 and today we're going to be looking at the bike mounting options for the Insta360 One X. We're going to be looking at the traditional mounts, which are the handlebar mount, the chest mount and the helmet mount, and then the specific Insta360 bike mounts such as the wrist mount and the bike back bar mount. How well do they perform and how do they fit into the 360 nature of the camera? If you're new to this channel, this is the place to come to learn and perfect your 360 videos and 360 photos. So please hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Most of the mounts that we use in this video are traditional GoPro mounts, but we use this adapter which adapts it from a GoPro mount to a 1/4 inch thread, so you can put your Insta360 One X camera on there. The chest mount is very easy to use and very easy to put on, and the fact that the camera sits right in front of your chest means it's very accessible. The stop, start, record button is right in front of you and any adjustments you need to make to the camera are just right there. As a general mount, I do like the chest mount, but for biking it's probably my least favourite mount because everything feels quite enclosed. You're surrounded by your arms, it's quite close to your chest, so I don't feel that you're really taking full advantage of the 360 nature of the camera. But with this mount you can reframe to get some really good POV shots. You can't mount this camera like you would a traditional GoPro camera on this mount where you'd put it flat to your chest, because you'd run the risk of damaging the lens and also you're blocking one of the lenses. So you have to put the camera forwards so it actually sticks out quite a way and it does feel a little bit vulnerable. The helmet mount again is a GoPro mount, and this particular mount I found quite awkward to actually attach to the helmet, and it may have been because the gaps in my helmet were too far apart and it didn't leave me enough length of strap to actually really tighten the mount off onto the helmet. If I was going to use this mount again for a longer period, I'd probably put a cable tie on it because it just didn't feel secure. It's worth noting at this point that it is really important to make sure that all these mounts are tightened right up. Because the One X does stand quite tall, the wind resistance does tend to move it as you're riding along or running along or whatever activity you're doing. So you really do have to keep an eye on it. From a 360 perspective, the helmet mount is a brilliant mount because you can see all around you with an unobstructed view. So if you're riding with others, you're never going to miss out on any action that's behind you or to the side of you. You can just reframe it in the edit. And because the mount does stand a couple of inches off the top of the helmet, you do get that drone style feel to the shot. So it's almost like there's a drone hovering above you as you're riding. I'd say the drone effect isn't quite as good as the bike back bar mount, but it does come very close. The one thing I will say about the helmet mount is because it is just stuck on your helmet, when you look at the shot in a Tiny Planet mode, for example, it just looks like that there's a head and a back just moving along. You can't really see the bike, which is a bit of a shame. I think if I was going to use the One X for longer periods on the helmet, I'd use a flat adhesive mount or get the Insta360 climbing helmet attachment, which goes right over your helmet and clips underneath your chin, so it's a lot more secure. When I was using the handlebar mount, it was quite nice to have a mount that wasn't attached to my body. It just felt more secure, and it's right in front of you, so any adjustments that you want to make to the camera or to the mount itself can be done really easily. Because the camera is right in front of you as well, you can see straight away if the mount slips and make any necessary adjustments. When it's mounted on the handlebar mount, it is closer to the wheel, so it is a bit more vulnerable to stuff flying up from the wheel as you're riding along and possibly damaging the lens, but that's something with this camera that we've always got to be aware of, and there's not a lot we can do about it. The handlebar mount position is a more traditional action camera position, and from this position you can get some brilliant POV shots. You can spin the camera around in the edit and get shots of yourself riding. You can get shots of the wheel. There's lots you can get from this position, including playing with the Tiny Planet effect as well. What I really wanted to create on the handlebar mount is a shot very similar to the bike back bar mount, where you've got that drone style shot with either the drone following you or in this case the drone tracking from in front of you. So I decided to attach the invisible selfie stick to the mount to push the camera further away from the bike to achieve that drone style effect. Straight away in this position with the selfie stick, you get a much better perspective and you're really taking advantage of the 360 nature of the camera. The problem I did have with this mount is I couldn't tighten it up enough to stop it moving, so after a while the camera started to slip to one side on the selfie stick. I think this shot is well worth getting, but you need a more rigid mount. If I was going to do this again, I'd put something more robust and rigid on there, like a super clamp. This wrist mount that I used on the bike is from Insta360. It's very similar to the GoPro mount, but it actually does feel a lot more robust and the build quality does feel better. I think the wrist mount is one of the most undervalued and underused mounts available, and it's such a versatile mount for all sorts of sports, and you can get some really good shots with it. As with other mounts, it does stick out a bit, so if you're trying to put on a rucksack or you're walking past a tree or past a wall or something, you do have to be made aware of it because you can easily damage the lens. The ground that I was cycling on was very bumpy, and the flow state stabilization did take care of a lot of the bumps, but you can still see quite a bit of movement in certain positions with the wrist mount. The wrist mount does give you the best of both worlds. It doesn't quite give you that drone style shot, but it does put the camera in a position where you can get a great point of view shot. You can get shots of the wheels, you can get shots of your face, you can get a whole variety of shots from that one position. After a while the camera did move again with this mount, so I did have to stop and tighten the mount up again. So as I said before, this is something that you have to be aware of with all of these mounts. So the most unique bike mount that we're going to be looking at in this video is the bike back bar mount by Insta360. If you want to know more information about this mount, I've got a separate video review which goes into a lot more detail, which you can see here. So this mount by Insta360 is pretty unique and it's pretty big as well. You put this mount around your waist like a belt, and then you screw the selfie stick to the thread on the mount and mount your camera on top of the selfie stick. Swing it back round and extend the selfie stick right above your head. Now this is the most unique thing about this mount, which gives you those really cool drone perspective shots. The camera is right above your head and it's like there is a drone following you. Because you're getting the drone style shot without a drone, it does mean that the camera has to be way above your head. Now because it's that far up, you do run the risk of hitting into trees, which I did on one occasion while I was testing it out. You can wear this mount in two positions. You can either put it round the back with the selfie stick right up high above your head, or you can spin it round and have the selfie stick sticking out in front of you. With the mount and the camera in front of you, you wouldn't want the selfie stick extended to full extension. And if it's not at full extension, then you're better off mounting it on the handlebar mount. Other than the size, there are a couple of other disadvantages with this mount. Because this selfie stick is extended to full extension, you do get a lot of bounce on the selfie stick, and the stabilization of the camera doesn't counteract all of this bounce, so you do see some of the bounce in some of your shots. The mount is, however, really comfortable to wear. You don't really notice you're wearing it, but other people definitely notice you, and you can get some amazing shots with it. Out of all the mounts we looked at today, I think if I had to choose one, then I would go with the traditional handlebar mount. I'd use a more rigid mount on the handlebar, I'd use the selfie stick, and I think from that position it would give you a lot of versatility and you'd really take advantage of the 360 nature of the camera. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up and tell me in the comments section about any mount combos that you like to use. Please remember to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.